So now let's move on to data aggregation and grouping. But before we do that, I want to do some data manipulation so we can get the data frame how we want it. So we're going to read our CSV file. And you see we loaded our data frame. So let's drop some columns. I want to drop the percentage of the world and the date column. So you see the drop columns equals to, said I want this. I'm just going to press Control C to copy it and Control V to paste. And the next one will be date. And we want to set the in place to true. Let's run that. Let's look at our data frame. And you see we dropped the columns. Let's rename the country/dependency to country. So c.rename columns equals, I'm going to use the dictionary. Let me just copy this. And we want to change that to country. And set the in place equals to true. So it saves our changes, and let's look at it. And you see the column has changed. Let's see the data types. So let's change the column and region column into a string data type. So C, and in between double block brackets, we put the name of a column country and the region. I'm gonna set that equals to, just gonna copy this and put it on this side. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And then we use the as type function and we say we want it to a string. And now let's look at our D types after that. Here, let's run that. And you see it's been changed to a string. So let's create a column called subregions, and I'm gonna paste some values. Put it here. And then we're gonna add this to our data frame. So our C and our column name that we're gonna add is subregion. It only needs one bracket. Then we set that equals to what we stored in this variable here. And now let's look at our C, our data frame, and you see we added the subregion. Let's look at the data types. Let's run that. And let's change the data type for subregion from an object to a string. So I'm gonna copy this. And I'm gonna paste this again. And I'm gonna add as type string. Let's see our data types now. And you see we made the changes. Let's use the reindex function to reorder our columns. So set C equals to C dot reindex. Let's set our columns equals to, let me take a look at our data frame. And I want sub-region here. So let me just pass it in as a list. Rank, country, the population. Now let's look at our data frame, and you see we made the changes. Now we can move on to aggregation functions. So let's perform some aggregation on a numeric column, and let's do it to our population column. So if we wanted the mean, simply call in our column population dot mean, and let's run that. And you see we get the mean. We can also get the max, the min, the sum, standard deviation, and also the count. We can also use the describe method to return all descriptive statistics. So I'm gonna just copy this. And here I put describe. And you see we get all the descriptive statistics. We can also apply it to our data frame, and it will only bring up the descriptive statistics for the numerical columns. So there's only 2 numerical columns in our data frame. We can apply the max and min to a string column, and it will bring the first string that's in alphabetical order. So let's just look at this. So let's say country, and we want the min. Let's try the sub-region. And you see we get Central America. So you see here it brings in Central America because in alphabetical order it's the first. If we bring the max, we get Western Africa. Now let's move on to the unique function, and it returns a list of unique values for a column. So let's say we want the unique values for the region column. We call out our column and our unique function. Let's run that. And you see we get the unique values, which is only Asia, America, Africa, Europe. And you could see in these columns, those are the unique values. We can bring the number of unique values using n unique. Oh, I meant to copy instead of, I'll just type it again. C dot region. And we want n unique. And let's run that. And you see we get 4. Let me just copy this and do the unique. There you have it. Now let's move on to the group by function, and it is used for grouping values in a column. So let's look at our variable. Let's look at our data frame, and let's find the total population for each region in our data frame. We will do this by c.group by, and then in brackets, the by keywords, and we said we want the region column, and then we're gonna find the sum. Let's run that. And you see it grouped our data frame by the region, and it brought us the sum of the numeric values. Let's say we want to remove the rank column. We'll just put C, and in between double block brackets, we put the columns that we want to see. And we only want to see region and population. And then we're going to call our group by keyword. Then in between brackets, we put region. Then we want the sum. And let's run that. And you see it only brought the region column and the population column, and it grouped by the countries in the region column. We can group by multiple columns by passing it in as a list in the group by argument. So let me just copy this part. And then I'm gonna add sub-region here. Put a comma here. And then we want to group by region and sub-region. So it said equals to region and sub-region. And we have to surround this by block brackets. And then let's add sum. And let's run that. And you see it grouped it by both the region and the sub-region. And it found the sum of our regions and sub-regions. If we want, we can add another column, the min and the max, which brings in a min column, which brings in the minimum values, and the max column that brings in the max. So let's just copy this so we don't need to retype. Press Ctrl C and Ctrl V. And instead of this sum, I'm going to call our agg function. And in between the list, we put the min and the max. And let's run that. And you see we grouped our data frame by region and sub-region. And we applied multiple aggregate functions. So this is aggregate functions and group by.